Now, I wonder if you consider yourself to be a gambler. It's a somewhat troubling word at times, isn't it? We talk a lot about this problem of online gambling. If you've ever placed an online bet and used your credit card, well, soon you won't be able to do that. But the thing is, these new rules, if they come into effect, they're going to federal parliament as of today, won't include the kind of gambling that the vast majority of us do. So, three-quarters of us gamble some way, shape, or form. And the highest out of all is lotteries and scratchies. Hands up if you've put something into the lotto, if you're the one who says, when I win lotto this weekend. So why wouldn't the lotteries be included in these new rules? Carol Bennett is the CEO of the Alliance for Gambling Reform and joins me this morning. Hi, Carol.
Good morning, Bern.
Yeah, lotteries. This is going to cover a lot of areas that you would be happy about because online gambling is a problem. We know this, and credit card
Mm,
debt is another problem.
it
So,
is.
so I know you welcome part of this. What do you think though about lotteries being left out of the equation?
Yeah, well, as you say, Bern, I mean, we're the biggest online gambling losers in the world in Australia. We are 20% ahead of any other country, and we're the fastest growing area, this area of online gambling, in terms of losses and in terms of the harm that that causes. And look, lotteries are an interesting one. I mean, we think this is fantastic legislation. We want to see a ban on credit because we know that this is a growing area of concern, particularly when people are using money they don't have. But lotteries tend to fly under the radar very often. And, a lot of us use gamble on lotteries and consider it to be low risk and low harm. But in fact, we've been looking at some legislation or some research recently and found that, in fact, there is a growing cohort, particularly of young men who are 18 to 24, who are the most prolific online gamblers, but tend to also be some of the highest users of lotteries. So
Really?
that is an area that we are
I wouldn't
concerned
have
about.
picked 18 to, what did you say, 18 to
To
25 year to
24.
24. I
Yeah,
wouldn't have picked
yeah,
young men as lottery players. I would have thought sports betting. I would have thought poker machines, maybe a bit of keno
yes,
while you're having a beer, putting a
yeah.
punt on a horse or a greyhound or something like that, but not lotto.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it was a surprise to us too. And I guess it goes right against the grain when it comes to the stereotypical person who you'd expect to, be going into the news agency and putting an extra bit of money on a lottery or, some lotto tickets. But, this is a really concerning area. And young men gamble on a whole range of gambling products. But yeah, it was interesting to find that lotteries are that area that often flies under the radar, but does actually cause significant gambling harm.
Yeah, well, it won't be included in this new legislation. It's going to federal parliament, to the federal government today. We lose approximately $25 billion collectively a year on legal forms of gambling. What do you think these measures will do?
Well, look, we welcome it because, we know that credit and digital currencies are things that people are using increasingly to gamble with, and it's usually money they don't have. We know that people who experience the most harm are 4 times more likely to use credit than low risk gamblers. So this is important in terms of, making sure that people are not using up money they just can't afford to use. Um, but there's a lot more that does need to be done, Bern. We need to see. There's a national online inquiry that's currently being considered by the government. We need to see that fully implemented because we know that there is this huge problem in Australia with gambling. It is way ahead of the rest of the world, and our regulations are quite lax. So there's a lot more that needs to be done. Everything from banning gambling advertising and inducements, because we know that is a big concern for many people. They are sick and tired of gambling ads. We all are. But there's a whole lot more that needs to be done right across the spectrum, because this has been an issue that really hasn't had the attention that it deserves, and it's causing significant problems right across the community. Everything from family violence, family breakdown, mental health issues, anxiety, depression, suicide. We put out a report yesterday that showed that suicides are increasing due to gambling. So, it is a big issue, and it's something that the federal government does need to tackle, and it needs to be a national approach.
How long do you think it'll take to come into effect, this ban on using your credit card for online gambling?
Well, there's a 6-month delay in the introduction. So that's the first thing, a transition period from the time that it has given the royal assent. Um, and I guess that's a period to allow the wagering providers to, change their behaviours. But we want to see this yesterday. It's really important. It's something that needs to happen. It's been in train for quite a few years. So the sooner it comes in, the better, when it comes to, the people out there that are really experiencing harm from this kind of gambling.
Carol Bennett is the CEO of the Alliance for Gambling Reform. Thanks for your time this morning, Carol.
Thanks so much, Ben.